and I'm 34 years old. I'm recording this video exactly 9 months after being pushed out of my family's company and 3 months after revealing my identity to my siblings. For 6 months, they worked in different departments of my company without knowing it was mine. It all started when they kicked me out of our family business, where I worked for 15 years, because I was the only one without a college degree. I didn't scream. I didn't break down. I simply smiled when I saw their faces freeze as they discovered they'd been working for the sister they considered inferior. Their temporary contract ended that day, and so did the illusion of superiority they'd maintained their entire lives. Where are you watching from today? Are you? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt underestimated by your own family. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. I'm recording this from my new executive office, looking at the $15,000 severance check they handed me exactly 9 months ago, telling me I wasn't qualified enough for the company I helped build from the ground up. Growing up as the middle child between two perfect siblings was never easy. Alex, my older brother, graduated with honors in business administration. Sophia, my younger sister, completed her engineering degree on a full scholarship. Meanwhile, I started working at our family's logistics company at 19 when my dad had his first heart attack. I juggled 60-hour work weeks while trying to attend night classes. Eventually, I dropped out to focus on keeping the business afloat. At every family dinner, I was reminded of my failure. "When are you going back to school?" "Becky?" my mother would ask, passing the mashed potatoes. "Did you hear Sophia got an internship at Google?" my father would announce proudly. All while I was the one keeping the clients happy and the bills paid. The irony? I documented everything I did. Every process I created, every system I implemented. Dad always encouraged keeping personal copies for business continuity purposes. He never imagined those continuity plans would one day become my blueprint for success. When Alex finally joined the company 3 years ago, he was immediately named Vice President of Operations, despite only having worked theoretical consulting jobs. Sophia returned from Silicon Valley a year ago and became Director of Technology. I remained Operations Manager, despite running 70% of the daily operations. The day everything changed started like any other Thursday. Dad called a special family meeting. My parents were officially retiring and transferring leadership of the company. We sat around the conference table I had selected and decorated myself. "It's with great pride that we transfer Martinez Logistics to the next generation," Dad announced. "Alex will be the new CEO, and Sophia, the COO. I waited for my name. My mother cleared her throat and said, "Becky, dear, as you know, we're in advanced negotiations with North Star Logistics for a potential acquisition. They require a leadership team with formal credentials to close the deal. We think you should consider finishing your degree. In the meantime, your position is being restructured." Alex explained with fake compassion, "You'll have a 2-week transition period, and we're offering a $15,000 severance package. It's the best we can do under the circumstances." I learned my siblings had convinced my parents that my lack of degree would hurt the company's sale value, a company I had helped build from the ground up. The severance was less than 2 months of what I was actually worth. I held my coffee mug so tightly I thought it might shatter, but I didn't shatter. Not yet. "I understand," I said calmly. "When would you like me to start transitioning my responsibilities?" They looked relieved. They expected tears, begging. Instead, they got compliance. Or so they thought. What they didn't know was that 15 years of being underestimated had prepared me for this exact moment. They thought they were ending my career. In reality, they were setting me free. I walked back to my office with my head held high. My assistant Jen looked at me with concern in her eyes. She'd been with me for 7 years and could read my expressions better than my own family. "Family meeting?" she asked. I nodded. "Changes are coming. Big ones." Little did my family know, those changes wouldn't be what they expected. The aftermath. The day after being told I was being restructured out of my family's company, I arrived at work at 7 a.m., just like I had for 15 years. The difference? Today, I knew I only had 14 days left. I sat at my desk, staring at the family photo I kept there. Mom, Dad, Alex, Sophia, and me at Alex's graduation. Everyone beaming with pride. I was smiling too, despite having rushed there straight from the warehouse after solving a shipping crisis that nearly cost us our biggest client. My phone buzzed. A text from Jen. "Coffee in the break room, extra shot. You'll need it." I found her waiting, concern etched on her face. "What happened yesterday? The whole office is buzzing about a restructuring." I told her everything. About being pushed out for not having a degree. About Alex and Sophia taking over. About the insulting severance package. "That's absolute garbage," Jen said, her voice rising. "You're the reason this company still exists." "Keep your voice down," I warned. And it doesn't matter now. I have 2 weeks to transition everything and then I'm gone. What are you going to do? I shrugged. Find another job, I guess. Back at my desk, I began methodically organizing 15 years of work. Files, contacts, procedures, systems I'd created from scratch. Alex strolled in around 10 a.m., coffee from the expensive place downtown in hand. He stopped by my desk. Becky, can you put together a transition document? Just the basics of what you do daily. I looked at him. The basics of what I do daily would be a 200-page manual, Alex. He laughed. Come on, it can't be that complicated. You handle shipping logistics, right? Just write down the process. 15 years of being underestimated, condensed into one dismissive sentence. I'll have something for you by the end of the week, I said. He walked away, never noticing the family photo was no longer on my desk. Throughout the day, 3 long-term clients called. They'd received an email about exciting changes in leadership and wanted to know what was happening. Everything's fine, I assured them, even as I felt anything but fine. That night, I sat in my apartment, the modest 2-bedroom I could afford despite working at a successful company for 15 years. My siblings both owned houses in gated communities. The disparity had never bothered me before. Now it felt like salt in a fresh wound. The next day, I found Jen waiting at my desk with a thick folder. What's this? I asked. Everything you've ever built for this company, she whispered. I've been keeping backups of all your systems and processes for years. Remember you always told me to for emergencies? Well, this is an emergency. I stared at the folder. Jen, I can't take company property. It's not company property, she insisted. These are your creations, your systems. You're not taking physical assets or client lists, just the methodology you created. I hesitated. I don't know. They're throwing you away after 15 years, Jen said firmly. They owe you more than $15,000. I took the folder home but didn't open it. It sat on my coffee table, a Pandora's box of possibilities I wasn't ready to face. On day 3 of my transition period, Sophia came to my office. Unlike Alex, she at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. I just wanted to check how you're doing with the transition, she said. Fine, I replied, not looking up from my computer. Look, Becky, I know this is hard, but it's what's best for the company. The North Star deal could triple our value. I finally looked at her. Did you know I increased our profits by 340% over 15 years without any fancy degree? She shifted uncomfortably. That's not the point. North Star wants... I know what they want, I interrupted. Credentials that look good on paper, not actual results. Sophia sighed. I'm sorry it worked out this way. Really. After she left, I opened my email to find a message from Marcus, an investor I'd met at a logistics conference 2 years ago. We'd kept in touch, occasionally meeting for coffee to discuss industry trends. Heard through the grapevine that Martinez Logistics is going through changes. Want to grab lunch? I stared at the message for a long time before replying, You have no idea. Lunch would be great. Have you ever had that moment where someone else's rejection becomes your redirection? Let me know in the comments below. The discovery 1 week into my transition period, I had lunch with Marcus at a small cafe 10 blocks from the Martinez Logistics office. So they're pushing you out because you don't have a degree? Marcus asked, setting down his coffee cup. After 15 years? I nodded, picking at my salad. Family business politics. My siblings have always been the golden children. Marcus shook his head. You know what's ironic? I've worked with dozens of logistics companies, and the ones run by MBAs often fail. They know theory, not practice. Tell that to North Star, I said. Marcus's eyes narrowed. North Star? They're the potential buyer? Yeah, why? Because I had a meeting with their acquisition team last month. They're looking for established companies with strong operational systems. They specifically said they don't care about degrees. They care about results. I froze, fork midway to my mouth. What? Their CEO started as a truck driver. He's big on practical experience over academic credentials. The pieces clicked together in my mind. My siblings lied about why I was being pushed out. Marcus nodded slowly. Seems that way. I set my fork down, my appetite gone. I need to find out what's really going on. Back at the office, I discreetly looked through recent emails between Alex, Sophia, and North Star. Nothing about degree requirements. Instead, I found something else. A different version of the deal where Alex and Sophia would receive substantial retention bonuses post-acquisition, while other staff, including me, would be evaluated for redundancies. They weren't pushing me out because of my lack of degree. They were pushing me out to increase their own payouts. I didn't confront them, not yet. Instead, I called Marcus from the parking lot. You were right, I said. This was never about my degree. What are you going to do? He asked. I don't know. I have one more week here, then I'm unemployed with a pathetic severance package. Or, Marcus said, you could start your own logistics company. I laughed. With what capital? With what clients? With your expertise, he countered. And maybe with some investment backing. Are you serious? Deadly serious. I've wanted to invest in the logistics sector for years, but I've been waiting for the right operator. Someone who knows the business inside and out. That would be me, I said, a small flame of hope igniting. Exactly. Let's meet tomorrow with my financial advisor. Bring your ideas. That night, I finally opened the folder Jen had given me. Inside were detailed documentation of every system and process I'd created over 15 years. Shipping optimization algorithms, customer relationship protocols, inventory management systems, the digital backbone I'd built for Martinez Logistics. These weren't company secrets or proprietary information. They were methodologies I'd developed myself, often on my own time, because no one else would do it. I stayed up all night creating a business plan. By morning, I had a vision for a new company, one that would improve on everything I'd built at Martinez. The next day, Jen cornered me in the break room. I've been thinking, she whispered. When you go, I want to go too. What? Why? You have job security here. She rolled her eyes. For how long? Once you're gone, Alex and Sophia won't need someone loyal to you. Besides, I've seen how they operate. This place will fall apart without you. The thought of Jen joining me was both exciting and terrifying. I can't promise anything yet, I said. But if things work out, you'll be my first call. In my remaining days, I observed my siblings closely. They barely glanced at the transition documents I provided. They were already planning the post-sale future. Alex talking about a vacation home, Sophia about starting her own tech consultancy with her payout. Neither of them had any idea what actually kept the company running day to day. On my last day, my father came to the office. A rare occurrence since his semi-retirement 2 years earlier. Becky, he said, finding me boxing up my personal items. I wanted to see how you're doing. I'm fine, Dad, I said, not looking up. This isn't personal, you know, it's just business. I finally met his gaze. For 15 years, I've heard that family is the most important thing, that we work together because we're Martinez. Was that all a lie? He looked away first. Things change. Companies evolve. No, Dad. People make choices. You, Alex, and Sophia made yours. Now I'll make mine. I handed him my badge and walked out, head held high. That night, I met with Marcus and his financial advisor. After reviewing my business plan, Marcus made an offer. $150,000 initial investment for a 30% stake in my new company. What would you call it? He asked. I thought about rising from the ashes of my family's betrayal. Phoenix Logistics, I said, because sometimes you have to burn to rise. Have you ever discovered someone wasn't who you thought they were? Drop a in the comments if you've had your trust broken. The opportunity. 2 weeks after leaving Martinez Logistics, I was working from my apartment, building Phoenix Logistics from scratch. My dining table became my office, covered with business registration forms, marketing materials, and my laptop. My phone rang, an unknown number. Rebecca Martinez speaking, I answered professionally, despite being in my pajama pants. Ms. Martinez, this is Harold Thompson from North Star Logistics. My heart skipped. North Star, the company supposedly acquiring my family's business. How can I help you, Mr. Thompson? I kept my voice steady. I received your contact information from our acquisition team. They've been conducting due diligence on Martinez Logistics, and your name kept coming up as the operational cornerstone of the company. We were surprised to learn you're no longer with them. I chose my words carefully. Yes, we recently parted ways due to restructuring. He chuckled. That's what they're calling it? Interesting. Our team noticed significant gaps in operational knowledge during our meetings with the new leadership. Frankly, we're concerned about the company's functionality without you. I'm sure Alex and Sophia will figure things out, I said diplomatically. Perhaps. But that's not why I'm calling. We understand you may be starting your own venture. North Star might be interested in discussing opportunities, either investment in your new company or bringing you on as an operational consultant. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was pushed out to facilitate an acquisition, and now the acquirer was reaching out to me directly. I appreciate your interest, Mr. Thompson. However, I'm in early discussions with other investors at the moment. I wouldn't want to create any conflicts of interest with your Martinez acquisition. About that, he hesitated. Between us, that deal is looking increasingly unlikely. The more we learn, the more concerned we become about operational continuity. I tried to contain my satisfaction. I'm sorry to hear that. After the call, I immediately contacted Marcus. You'll never guess who just called me. When I told him about North Star's interest, he wasn't surprised. Word travels fast in this industry. Your reputation precedes you. But I don't want to work with North Star, I admitted. I want to build something of my own. Then let's accelerate our timeline, Marcus said. I can bring in 2 more investors. We could have $350,000 in startup capital. That evening, Jen called me in tears. The office is a disaster. Becky, Alex lost the Hendricks account today. They've been with us for 12 years. What happened? He forgot about their quarterly contract review. By the time I reminded him, they'd already signed with a competitor. I felt a pang of guilt for the employees who would suffer from my siblings' incompetence. I'm sorry, Jen. Don't be sorry. Be ready to hire me when this place implodes, she said with a determined edge in her voice. The next day, I signed the official paperwork establishing Phoenix Logistics LLC, with Marcus and his partners as minority investors. We leased a small office space and a modest warehouse in an industrial district across town. As we walked through the empty warehouse, Marcus asked, "How will you find clients? Non-compete agreements are standard in your industry." "I never signed one," I replied. "Dad always said family didn't need legal protection from each other." Marcus laughed. "Their oversight is our opportunity." I shook my head. "I'm not going to poach clients directly. That would feel wrong, and I want to build this company with integrity." "Admirable, but how will you grow?" "I have relationships throughout the industry. People know me, not just as a Martinez, but as Rebecca. I'll focus on sectors my family's company never prioritized: pharmaceutical logistics, specialized tech shipping. And staff? Good logistics people are hard to find." I smiled. I know exactly who my first hire will be. True to my prediction, Jen quit Martinez Logistics the following week. According to her, Alex had berated her for loyalty to the old regime after she tried to walk him through the customer relationship management system I'd developed. With Jen as my operations manager, we began building Phoenix Logistics properly. I hired 2 warehouse staff, a driver, and an accountant. Our first client was a small pharmaceutical company that needed specialized temperature-controlled shipping, something Martinez Logistics had always avoided due to the regulatory complexity. 1 month after opening our doors, we were handling regular shipments for 3 clients. Small, but growing. Then I got another interesting call, this time from Rita, who still worked at Martinez as an administrative assistant. "Becky, you won't believe what's happening," she whispered. "The North Star deal is on life support. Their due diligence team found major issues with operational consistency. Your father came back to the office today. He looked old." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and meant it. Despite everything, I didn't want my parents to suffer. "There's more," Rita continued. "They're discreetly reaching out to headhunters. I think Alex and Sophia are looking for exit strategies. The company has been struggling since you left, but it's worse than everyone expected. Several long-term clients are threatening to leave because of service issues." That night, I couldn't sleep. Part of me felt vindicated. Another part felt sad for the legacy my grandfather had built, now crumbling under my siblings' mismanagement. But mostly I felt something unexpected. Opportunity. An idea began forming, one that would either be brilliantly satisfying or catastrophically risky. The next morning, I called my lawyer. "I want to hire 2 specific people without revealing that I'm the owner," I explained. "Is that legal?" He considered. "As long as there's no fraud involved, yes. Using a recruitment agency as an intermediary would create appropriate separation. But why would you want to do that?" I explained my plan. He raised his eyebrows but nodded slowly. "Just be careful not to misrepresent anything in writing, and make sure any employment contracts clearly state the actual parent company." I hung up and called Liam, an old colleague who now ran a boutique recruitment agency. "I have an unusual request," I began. "Those are my favorite kind," he replied. "Have you ever been handed the perfect opportunity for poetic justice? What would you do with it? Share your thoughts below." The decision. 6 weeks after founding Phoenix Logistics, business was steadily growing. We'd secured 5 regular clients and were breaking even on monthly operations, a minor miracle in an industry where new companies typically hemorrhaged money for the first year. I was reviewing applications for 2 new positions when Jen knocked on my office door. "You need to see this," she said, placing her tablet in front of me. It was a job listing from my family's company, seeking experienced logistics professionals for immediate hire, competitive salary. "They're desperate," Jen said. 3 more major clients left last week. Your father called an all-hands meeting yesterday to assure everyone the company wasn't folding." I stared at the listing, conflicting emotions swirling inside me. Satisfaction at my siblings' failure, concern for the employees who depended on the company for their livelihoods, and something else, an idea that had been growing since my conversation with my lawyer. "Jen, what if we created a separate division of Phoenix? one that operated under a different name for specific clients. She tilted her head. Like a subsidiary? That's common in logistics. Why? I leaned forward. I want to hire Alex and Sophia without them knowing I'm their boss. Jen's eyes widened. Are you serious? Completely. They pushed me out claiming my lack of degree made me unqualified. I want them to experience exactly what I did all those years, doing the actual work without recognition. That's diabolical, Jen said slowly, then broke into a grin. I love it. I called Liam and explained what I wanted to do. He understood immediately. We'll list the positions through my agency. The contracts will clearly state they're employed by Phoenix Logistics, but we'll specify they'll be working at your subsidiary division under the name PL Operations. Most people don't read the fine print of their employment contracts anyway. And it's not illegal? I confirmed again. Not at all. Companies use different operating names all the time. As long as the legal entity is correctly identified in official documentation, you're clean. I worked with Liam to craft job descriptions that would appeal specifically to my siblings' credentials, yet for positions several levels below what they were accustomed to. For Alex, a logistics coordinator role that matched exactly what I had done for years. For Sophia, a systems specialist position implementing processes that I had created and perfected. To ensure my identity remained concealed, I established a corporate structure more complex than necessary for a company our size. Phoenix Logistics Inc. would be the parent company, with all legal and tax documentation showing this ownership structure. However, the subsidiary would operate under PL Operations for all day-to-day business. Most importantly, I would use the name R.J. Morgan for all internal communications, a play on my initials but unrecognizable to my siblings. Isn't that a bit excessive? Jen asked when I explained the setup. Maybe, I admitted, but if they discover I'm behind this too early, the lesson will be lost. Would they apply? I wasn't sure, but from what Rita had told me, they were quietly searching for exit strategies as Martinez Logistics floundered. Their impressive degrees might get them interviews elsewhere, but their lack of practical experience, now exposed by their fumbling leadership, would make landing executive positions difficult. The economic climate was also in my favor. A recent downturn in the logistics sector meant jobs were scarce, especially for those without proven operational experience. Alex and Sophia's theoretical knowledge and executive titles wouldn't compensate for their lack of hands-on skills in a tight job market. To maintain my anonymity, I established a management structure where Jen would directly supervise the PL operations team, while I managed the company from our separate headquarters 15 kilometers away. For internal communications, I used the pseudonym R.J. Morgan, and whenever video conferences were necessary, there were always convenient technical difficulties with my camera. This separation wasn't unusual in logistics, where many companies operate with multiple facilities and distributed management. To further diminish suspicion, I scheduled my rare visits to the distribution center for days when Alex and Sophia would be in external training or attending to clients. While waiting to see if my siblings would take the bait, I focused on growing Phoenix Logistics. We secured 2 more clients and hired additional staff. Our reputation for reliability and innovative solutions was spreading in the specialized logistics sectors we targeted. 3 months after opening our doors, we landed our biggest contract yet, a regional medical supplies distributor that needed precisely the kind of temperature-controlled, time-sensitive logistics we specialized in. The contract would increase our monthly revenue by 40%. The day we signed the contract, I took the team out for drinks. As we celebrated, my phone buzzed with a text from Liam. Your special candidates have both submitted applications. Interviews next week? I smiled into my glass. Good news? Jen asked. The best, I replied. Phase 2 is about to begin. I arranged for Jen to conduct the initial interviews with Alex and Sophia, with me observing via one-way video, a common practice for executive oversight in hiring. Watching my siblings answer basic questions about logistics operations, questions they should have known after supposedly running the company, was both satisfying and sad. They struggled with fundamental concepts I had tried to teach them during my brief transition period, concepts they had dismissed as not that complicated when I handled them. After the interviews, Jen called me. They're perfect, she said, unable to keep the amusement from her voice. Completely unqualified but convinced they know everything. Classic Dunning-Kruger effect. Offer them the positions, I instructed. 6-month contracts, standard probationary period, performance reviews at 3 and 6 months. 2 days later, Liam confirmed both Alex and Sophia had accepted the offers. They would start the following Monday. That weekend, I stood in the empty PL operations facility, looking at the workstations where my siblings would soon sit. Workstations identical to the one I'd occupied for 15 years at the family company. For a moment, I questioned whether I was taking this too far. Was this justice or petty revenge? Then I remembered my father's words from that last day. This isn't personal, you know. It's just business. I straightened my shoulders. This wasn't about revenge. This was about learning, something my degree-holding siblings claimed to value so highly. It was time for them to get an education they couldn't find in any classroom. Have you ever had to make a decision between taking the high road or teaching someone a valuable lesson? What did you choose? Let me know in the comments. The transformation. 1 month into their employment at PL Operations, Alex and Sophia were struggling with the realities of logistics work. According to Jen's weekly reports, Alex was constantly overwhelmed by the minute details of coordinating shipments, the same details he had dismissed as basic when I handled them at Martinez. Sophia, meanwhile, was frustrated by the limitations of our systems modeled directly after ones I had created at the family company, which she had claimed were outdated and inefficient when pushing me out. To be fair, both showed some aptitude. Alex's business education gave him a solid theoretical understanding of supply chain principles, though he struggled to apply them in real-world situations. Sophia's technical skills allowed her to identify potential improvements to our database structure, even if she lacked the practical experience to implement them effectively. I monitored their progress through reports, surveillance footage, and occasional disguised visits to the facility. The transformation was already beginning, their designer clothes replaced by more practical attire, their manicured hands showing signs of actual work, dark circles under their eyes from dealing with real logistics emergencies. While they struggled at PL Operations, I was flourishing at Phoenix Logistics. We had secured 3 more major clients and were expanding our warehouse space. My confidence grew daily, not just in my business acumen, but in my personal presentation. I bought new clothes that reflected my position as CEO. I changed my hairstyle from the practical ponytail I'd worn for years to a sophisticated cut that framed my face. I even hired a personal trainer, channeling my stress and newfound determination into physical strength. The transformation wasn't just external. Inside, I was becoming someone new, someone who didn't need family validation or academic credentials to know her worth. "You're different," Marcus observed over lunch one day. "When we first discussed starting Phoenix, you seemed uncertain. Now you command the room." I smiled. I spent 15 years being told I wasn't enough. Turns out I was more than enough all along. Our rapid growth wasn't merely luck. Marcus's industry connections helped open doors that would normally remain closed to a startup. My 15 years of relationship building with clients and suppliers gave us credibility that new companies typically lack, and our focus on specialized logistics niches, temperature-controlled pharmaceuticals, fragile technology components, allowed us to charge premium rates while avoiding direct competition with larger players. At the 3-month mark, it was time for Alex and Sophia's first performance reviews. Jen conducted the initial assessments and brought me the results. "They're actually improving," she admitted, sounding surprised. "Alex has finally figured out the shipping optimization system, and Sophia has streamlined some of the database functions." "Are they meeting expectations?" I asked. "Barely," Jen replied. "They're doing the minimum required, but they complain constantly about how the work is beneath them and how they used to be executives." I nodded. "Keep pushing them. I want them to understand every aspect of the work I did for years without recognition." As Phoenix continued to grow, so did my reputation in the industry. I was invited to speak at a regional logistics conference, the same conference where I had met Marcus years earlier. There, I ran into Harold Thompson from North Star. "Rebecca Martinez," he said, extending his hand. "The rising star of specialized logistics. Your company has made quite an impression in a short time." "Thank you." "Harold, how are things at North Star?" "Excellent. Though I'm still curious about what happened with Martinez Logistics. That acquisition could have been transformative for both companies." I chose my words carefully. "Family businesses have unique challenges. I'm sure they're doing fine without me." He raised an eyebrow. "That's not what I hear. Word is they're struggling to maintain their client base. Your father has returned to day-to-day operations, apparently. The news shouldn't have bothered me, but it did. Despite everything, I still cared about my parents and the company my grandfather had founded." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said sincerely. Harold studied me for a moment. "You know, many people in your position would be gloating right now. What would that accomplish? I've built something new that I'm proud of. That's enough for me." Later that week, I received an unexpected email from my mother. The subject line simply read, "Lunch?" We met at a small cafe halfway between Phoenix Logistics and my parents' home. My mother looked tired, the lines around her eyes deeper than I remembered. "You look different," she said as I sat down. "More confident." "I am different," I replied. "Running my own company will do that." She nodded, fidgeting with her napkin. Your father and I heard about Phoenix Logistics. You've done well for yourself. Thank you. How are things at Martinez? Her smile faltered. Challenging. We've lost several key clients. Your father has come out of retirement to help Alex and Sophia, but she trailed off. But they're in over their heads. I finished for her. She nodded reluctantly. They never understood how much you actually did. None of us did. The admission hung between us. Too little. Too late. Why did you reach out, Mom? I asked directly. She looked up, tears in her eyes. I miss my daughter, and I'm sorry. We made a terrible mistake. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to say everything was fine, but that would be a lie. Everything wasn't fine. They had pushed me out of a company I helped build, dismissed my contributions, and only recognized my value when things fell apart without me. I appreciate the apology, I said finally, but I have my own company now, my own life. I understand, she said softly, but family is still family. The door is always open if you want to come back. I looked at my mother, really looked at her. She seemed smaller somehow, diminished by regret. For the first time, I saw her not as the mother who had always preferred my siblings, but as a woman who had made mistakes and was living with the consequences. I'm not coming back, I said gently, but maybe we can have lunch again sometime. It was a small olive branch, but it was all I could offer right now. Back at Phoenix, I threw myself into work with renewed energy. We were expanding again, hiring 3 more staff and increasing our warehouse capacity. The subsidiary where Alex and Sophia worked was also growing, taking on more clients and responsibilities. According to Jen, my siblings were settling into their roles, still unaware of who really owned the company. The humbling experience of doing actual logistics work was slowly changing them. Alex had stopped complaining about menial tasks and was showing genuine interest in improving efficiency. Sophia had started acknowledging the practical wisdom of systems similar to ones I had built at Martinez. They were learning the lessons I had hoped they would. As the 6-month mark approached, when their contracts would end and their final evaluations would take place, I prepared for the revelation I had been planning since the beginning. It was time for my siblings to learn who they had really been working for all this time. Have you ever watched someone who underestimated you slowly realize your true value? Share your experience below. The commitment. 5 months into Alex and Sophia's employment at PL Operations, Phoenix Logistics secured its biggest contract yet, a regional distribution deal with MedSupply Partners, a growing medical equipment company. The contract would double our monthly revenue and require significant expansion of our operations. I called an emergency meeting with Marcus and our other investors. This is a game changer, I explained, laying out the numbers. But to fulfill the contract requirements, we need to invest in additional warehouse space and specialized equipment. Marcus studied the projections. You're looking at $500,000 in capital expenditures. That's substantial. I nodded. I know. But the ROI is projected at 18 months, and it positions us for similar contracts in the medical sector. After an hour of discussion, the investors agreed to provide the additional funding. As we shook hands, Marcus pulled me aside. You know, when we started this venture, I believed in your operational knowledge. What I didn't expect was your business acumen. You're a natural CEO, Rebecca. His words warmed me. For years, I'd been told I wasn't leadership material without a degree. Now, investors were trusting me with $500,000 based on my track record and vision. The next day, I visited our banker to secure the funding. As I signed the paperwork, I remembered how my father had always handled the financial aspects of Martinez Logistics, claiming it was too complex for me to understand. Now I was negotiating terms and reviewing covenants for a major business loan. The banker smiled as she processed the documents. Your company's growth trajectory is impressive, Ms. Martinez. 6 months old and already securing financing that established businesses would envy. Back at the office, I shared the news with our core team, including Jen. This changes everything, she said excitedly. We'll need to hire at least 10 more staff. More than that, I replied, and we'll need to integrate PL operations more closely with our main operations. Jen gave me a knowing look. Perfect timing. Their 6-month contracts are almost up. I nodded. It's time they learned who they've been working for. That evening, I sat alone in my office, contemplating the revelation to come. Part of me worried that exposing myself as Alex and Sophia's employer would seem petty or vindictive. But another part, the part that had been dismissed and undervalued for 15 years, knew this was about more than revenge. This was about recognition, about finally being seen for what I truly was, not just by my siblings, but by myself. The next morning, I received a call from Rita at Martinez Logistics. Becky, I thought you should know. Your parents are considering selling the company, she said, her voice low. Not to North Star or any other major player. They're looking at liquidation options. The news hit me harder than expected. Martinez Logistics had been founded by my grandfather. It had supported 3 generations of our family. The thought of it disappearing completely felt wrong, despite everything that had happened. How bad is it? I asked. Bad. They've lost over 40% of their client base. Your father looks like he's aged 10 years and 6 months. After hanging up, I sat motionless, staring at the wall. For months, I'd focused on building Phoenix and teaching my siblings a lesson. I hadn't considered that Martinez Logistics might actually fail completely. Did I want that? Did I want my parents to lose everything? Did I want the employees, many of whom had been kind to me during my time there, to lose their jobs? I was still contemplating these questions when Jen knocked on my door. The med supply contract just came through, she said, waving the documents. We're official. I forced a smile. That's great news. Jen tilted her head. What's wrong? You should be ecstatic. I hesitated, then shared Rita's call about Martinez Logistics potentially being liquidated. And you feel guilty? Jen asked, surprised. After how they treated you. Not guilty. Exactly. Just conflicted. It's still my family's legacy. Jen sat down across from me. Rebecca, you didn't cause their problems. Your siblings did that all on their own by pushing out the one person who knew how to run the company. I know, but still nothing, Jen said firmly. Focus on Phoenix, on our growth, on the people who value you. She was right, of course. I had built something valuable from nothing. My responsibility now was to Phoenix Logistics and its employees, including, ironically, my siblings. As the final week of Alex and Sophia's contracts approached, I prepared for their performance reviews. I would conduct these personally, revealing myself as the owner of Phoenix Logistics. I scheduled the meetings for Friday afternoon, back-to-back. I chose a neutral conference room at the main Phoenix headquarters, a place neither of them had visited before. The night before the meetings, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining their faces when they realized who had been signing their paychecks for 6 months. Would they be angry? Humiliated? Would they learn anything from the experience? Morning came, and with it, clarity. Whatever their reaction, this was about closure, about moving forward, not looking back. I dressed carefully in a tailored navy suit, professional, confident, but not showy. I arrived at the office early to prepare the conference room, placing their performance evaluations and final payment documentation in folders with the Phoenix Logistics logo prominently displayed. At 2 p.m., I received a text from the receptionist. Alex Martinez has arrived for his 2:15 meeting. I took a deep breath. This was it, the moment I'd been planning for 6 months. As I walked to the conference room, I caught a glimpse of myself in the reflective glass of a picture frame. The woman looking back at me wasn't the insecure middle child who had been pushed aside. She was a CEO, a founder, a success by any measure. Whatever happened in the next hour, that truth wouldn't change. I opened the door to the conference room where Alex waited, his back to me as he looked out the window at the Phoenix Logistics sign on the building across the parking lot. Hello, Alex, I said calmly. He turned, and his expression moved from confusion to shock to disbelief in the span of seconds. Becky, he stammered, what are you doing here? I smiled and extended my hand professionally. I'm Rebecca Martinez, CEO and founder of Phoenix Logistics. Welcome to your 6-month performance review. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision about confronting someone who hurt you? How did you handle it? Drop a comment below. The confrontation. Alex stared at me, his mouth opening and closing without words. The confidence he'd always worn like expensive cologne evaporated as realization dawned. This is a joke, he finally managed. You can't be the CEO of Phoenix Logistics? I finished for him, sliding a business card across the table. I assure you, I am. He picked up the card, turning it over in his hands as if examining it for forgery. PL Operations is a subsidiary of Phoenix Logistics, yes. It's all in your employment contract, which you apparently didn't read very carefully. I opened the folder in front of me. Now, shall we discuss your performance review? Alex's face flushed. I don't understand. Why would you do this? To humiliate me? I met his gaze steadily. To educate you, actually. For 15 years, you dismissed the work I did at Martinez as simple, beneath someone of your qualifications. I wanted you to experience that work firsthand. This is insane, he muttered, running a hand through his hair. Does Dad know about this? This has nothing to do with Dad. This is between you and me. I slid his performance evaluation across the table. You've actually shown improvement over the past 6 months. Your attention to detail has increased significantly, and you've developed a better understanding of logistics operations. He glanced at the evaluation, then back at me. So this was all some elaborate revenge scheme? No, Alex. This was a business decision. Phoenix Logistics needed qualified staff. You needed employment after your leadership failures at Martinez. It was mutually beneficial. His eyes narrowed. Mutual? You deceived me. Did I? Or did you simply fail to read the documentation that clearly stated you were employed by Phoenix Logistics? I leaned forward. The same way you failed to read the operational manuals I prepared during my transition period at Martinez. He had no response to that. The reality is, I continued, you've spent 6 months doing exactly what I did for 15 years. Without recognition, without title, without family privilege. The only difference is you were paid fairly for your work. Alex stared at the table for a long moment. When he looked up, his expression had shifted from anger to something more complex. Martinez is failing, he said quietly. I know. Dad came out of retirement, but it's not enough. We've lost too many clients. I kept my face neutral. That's unfortunate. Is that all you have to say? Unfortunate? It's our family's legacy. A legacy you and Sophia were willing to push me out of for a better sale price, I reminded him. Now, about your final assessment. Forget the assessment, Alex interrupted. What are you going to do about Martinez? I raised an eyebrow. Nothing. Martinez Logistics isn't my responsibility anymore. Phoenix is. So you'll just let the company die? Let Dad lose everything he built? Dad lost everything when he chose to discard a loyal employee with 15 years of experience in favor of credentials on paper. Alex fell silent again, the truth of my words sinking in. Your contract ends today, I said, pushing another document toward him. This is your final payment statement. You'll notice my name on the signature line. He looked at the paper, then back at me. What happens now? That depends on you. Phoenix Logistics is expanding. We have positions available for experienced logistics coordinators. You've gained valuable practical experience in the past 6 months. If you're interested in continuing your employment, we can discuss terms. The offer clearly surprised him. You'd keep me on, after all this? This was never about revenge. Alex, it was about understanding, about recognizing that education comes in many forms, not just university degrees. I closed his folder. Think about it. Let me know by Monday. He stood slowly, gathering his papers. Does Sophia know? She has her review in 30 minutes. Alex nodded, then hesitated at the door. For what it's worth, I didn't know how much you actually did at Martinez until I tried doing it myself. It wasn't exactly an apology, but it was something. That was the point, I replied. After Alex left, I took a moment to compose myself. The confrontation had gone better than I'd expected. Less shouting, more reflection. But Sophia had always been more volatile than Alex. At exactly 3 my phone buzzed with a text. Sophia Martinez has arrived. I took a deep breath and headed back to the conference room. Sophia was already seated, scrolling through her phone. She looked up as I entered, and the phone slipped from her fingers. Becky? Her voice was barely a whisper. Hello, Sophia. Unlike Alex's slow realization, Sophia connected the dots immediately. You own Phoenix Logistics. I've been working for you this whole time. I nodded, taking my seat across from her. Yes. Does Alex know? He just left his review. She shook her head in disbelief. I should have known. The systems at PL Operations, they're just like the ones you built at Martinez. More advanced, but with the same underlying logic. Her technical mind had always been sharper than Alex's. Your performance has been satisfactory, I said, opening her evaluation folder. You've shown particular aptitude for system optimization and client communications. Sophia ignored the evaluation. Why didn't you tell me it was your company? Why the charade? Would you have taken the job if you knew it was mine? She considered this, then shook her head. Probably not. And would you have learned what you've learned these past 6 months? About the realities of logistics operations? About the value of practical experience versus theoretical knowledge? Sophia looked down at her hands. No, she admitted. I wouldn't have. I slid her final payment statement across the table. Your contract ends today. Like Alex, you're welcome to apply for a permanent position if you're interested. She stared at the document, my name clearly visible on the signature line. Martinez is falling apart without you, she said quietly. Dad's trying, but he can't replace 15 years of institutional knowledge overnight. I finished for her. Sophia looked up, her eyes unexpectedly bright with tears. We really messed up, didn't we? Alex and I? The vulnerability in her voice caught me off guard. Sophia had always been the most confident of us three, secure in her technical brilliance and our parents' favoritism. Yes, I said simply. You did. She wiped her eyes quickly. What would it take for you to come back? To help save Martinez? The question surprised me. I'm not coming back, Sophia. Phoenix is my company now. But the family business stopped being family when you and Alex pushed me out. I interrupted. I've built something new, something successful. Why would I abandon that? She had no answer for that. After a moment, she gathered her things and stood. For what it's worth, she said at the door, you've proven your point. A degree doesn't make someone qualified to run a business. Experience does. After she left, I sat alone in the conference room, emotions swirling. The confrontations had gone largely as I'd expected, but something felt unfinished. My phone buzzed with a text from Jen. How did it go? As planned, I replied. They know everything now. Are they staying on? I stared at the question, realizing I wasn't sure what I wanted the answer to be. TBD, I texted back. Let's meet Monday to discuss next steps. As I drove home that evening, I felt strangely hollow. The moment I'd been planning for months had finally arrived, and while it had gone well, it hadn't brought the satisfaction I'd expected. Instead, it had opened new questions. About Martinez Logistics, about my parents, about what winning really meant. Has karma ever caught up with someone who underestimated you? What was your reaction? Tell me in the comments. The reconciliation attempt. The Monday after the revelations, my phone rang at 7 a.m. My father's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated, then answered. Hello, Dad. Rebecca. His voice sounded older, tired. We need to talk. All of us. Your mother and I are inviting you to dinner tonight. Alex and Sophia will be there. So they had told my parents everything. I wasn't surprised. I'm not sure that's a good idea, I replied. Please. The word sounded strange coming from my father, who rarely asked for anything. If not for me, then for your mother. She misses you. I closed my eyes, weighing my options. Part of me wanted to refuse, to maintain the clean break I'd made. But another part, the part that still remembered Sunday dinners and birthday celebrations, couldn't reject the olive branch so easily. Fine. What time? 7 o'clock. Our house. At the office, I found it hard to concentrate. The prospect of facing my entire family after everything that had happened was unsettling. I hadn't been to my parents' house since before I was pushed out of Martinez Logistics. Jen noticed my distraction. Everything okay? I explained about the dinner invitation. Are you going to go? She asked. I already said yes. She looked concerned. Just be careful. They might try to manipulate you into helping save Martinez. I know, but I need to do this. For closure, if nothing else. That evening, I parked in front of my parents' house, the same suburban two-story where I'd grown up. For a moment, I sat in the car, gathering my resolve. Then I straightened my shoulders and walked to the door. My mother answered, her face lighting up when she saw me. Rebecca, you came. She pulled me into a hug that felt both familiar and strange after so many months of distance. Inside, my father stood in the living room, looking smaller than I remembered. Alex and Sophia sat stiffly on the couch, avoiding my gaze. Thank you for coming, my father said formally. Dinner will be ready shortly. We moved to the dining room, taking our usual seats out of habit. My father at the head of the table, my mother opposite him, Alex to his right, Sophia to my mother's right, and me between Sophia and my father. The family hierarchy preserved in seating arrangements. As my mother served the lasagna, my childhood favorite, the tension was palpable. No one seemed to know how to begin. Finally, my father cleared his throat. I understand there have been some developments with Phoenix Logistics. I took a sip of water, choosing my words carefully. If you're referring to the fact that Alex and Sophia discovered I'm the founder and CEO, then yes. It was a clever plan, my father said, surprising me with what almost sounded like admiration. Building a successful company while teaching your siblings a valuable lesson. It wasn't about being clever, I corrected. It was about creating something of my own after being pushed out of what I helped build. My mother jumped in, her voice conciliatory. We made a terrible mistake, Rebecca. We see that now. I looked at her, then at my father. A mistake implies a momentary lapse in judgment. You systematically undervalued my contributions for 15 years, then discarded me when it was convenient. No one contradicted me. The truth hung heavy in the air. My father set down his fork. Martinez Logistics is failing, he said bluntly. We've lost over half our client base. The operational systems are falling apart without you. We're 3 months from bankruptcy at our current trajectory. So there it was, the real reason for the dinner invitation. I'm sorry to hear that, I said evenly. But Phoenix Logistics is my priority now. We want to bring you back, my father continued as if I hadn't spoken. As CEO, full control of operations, Alex and Sophia would report to you. I almost laughed at the irony. 6 months ago, you decided I wasn't qualified to lead because I didn't have a degree. What changed? Everything, Sophia said, speaking for the first time. We tried to run what you built, and we failed. Completely. The degree was never the issue, Alex added. We just used it as an excuse because we wanted control. At least they were being honest now. So what exactly are you proposing? I asked. My father outlined his plan. I would return as CEO of Martinez Logistics. Alex and Sophia would take reduced roles more aligned with their actual experience. My parents would remain as board members only, with no operational involvement. And what happens to Phoenix? I asked. We could explore a merger, my father suggested. Martinez Phoenix Logistics, combining the established name with your innovative approach. I shook my head. Phoenix is successful precisely because it's not Martinez, because it reflects my vision, not family politics. Then keep them separate, my mother urged. Run both companies. We just need you back before Martinez collapses completely. I looked around the table at their expectant faces. 6 months ago, I would have given anything to hear these words. To be recognized, valued, needed. But now, no, I said quietly but firmly. Silence fell over the table. No, my father repeated, as if he hadn't heard correctly. I won't come back to Martinez Logistics. Not as CEO, not in any capacity. But the company will fail, my mother said, distressed. Your grandfather's legacy. I honored that legacy for 15 years, I interrupted. I built systems, cultivated clients, increased profits. And then I was pushed aside. Actions have consequences. My father's face hardened. So this is revenge. You'll let the company die to punish us. This isn't about revenge, I said, keeping my voice level. It's about moving forward. Phoenix Logistics is my company, my future. I won't abandon it to rescue the people who abandoned me. Alex leaned forward. What if we sold you Martinez? You could acquire the company, merge it with Phoenix however you wanted. It was a surprising suggestion, and not without merit from a business perspective. Martinez still had some valuable assets, client relationships, and infrastructure that could benefit Phoenix. I'd need to see the books, I said cautiously, and any offer would be based on current market value, not historical or emotional value. My father looked pained. You'd buy your family's company as a distressed asset? You're the one who taught me that business is business. Dad, remember? No one had much appetite after that. As we picked at our dessert, my mother made one last attempt. We're still family, Rebecca. Despite everything, isn't there some way we can reconcile? I looked at her tired face, then at my father's defeated expression, and finally at my siblings' uncomfortable postures. I'm open to rebuilding personal relationships, I said finally. But professionally, my decision is final. Phoenix is my priority now. It wasn't the answer they wanted, but it was the only one I could give with integrity. As I drove home that night, I felt lighter somehow. I had faced my family on my own terms. I had stated my boundaries clearly, and for perhaps the first time in my life, I had put my own needs and accomplishments first without guilt. It wasn't revenge, it was growth. Have you ever had to stand your ground with family who suddenly needed something from you? How did you handle it? Share below. The public victory. 2 weeks after the tense family dinner, Phoenix Logistics reached a significant milestone. Our expansion to accommodate the med supply contract was complete, and we were hosting an open house for clients and industry partners. The event was being held in our newly renovated headquarters, a modern facility 3 times the size of our original space. As I stood at the entrance greeting guests, I felt a surge of pride. In just 8 months, we had grown from a concept to a thriving company with 35 employees and a projected annual revenue of $4.2 million. Our rapid growth was notable but not unprecedented in the logistics industry. We had several factors working in our favor. Marcus's extensive network had opened doors typically closed to startups. My 15 years of industry relationships gave us immediate credibility. Our focus on specialized niches like temperature-controlled pharmaceutical shipping allowed us to charge premium rates. And most importantly, we had identified specific market gaps that larger companies were ignoring. Marcus arrived early, bringing several potential investors. They've been hearing about the Phoenix phenomenon and wanted to see for themselves, he explained with a wink. Throughout the evening, I mingled with clients, partners, and employees. Several people commented on the positive company culture and innovative systems we'd implemented, systems I had conceptualized but never been allowed to fully realize at Martinez. Around 8 p.m., the event was in full swing when I noticed an unexpected figure near the entrance. My father stood awkwardly in his best suit, scanning the room. I made my way through the crowd to greet him. Dad, I didn't expect to see you tonight. He nodded stiffly. I received an invitation. I assumed it was from you. I hadn't sent him one, but I had a suspicion who had. Jen caught my eye from across the room and gave me an unapologetic shrug. Well, you're here now, I said. Would you like a tour? I showed him around the facility, explaining our operational model and growth strategy. He asked surprisingly insightful questions and seemed genuinely impressed by what I'd built. In the warehouse section, he stopped to watch our team demonstrating the temperature-controlled shipping system I'd designed for medical supplies. "This is remarkable," he said quietly. "You created all this in less than a year?" "I had 15 years of ideas that no one at Martinez wanted to implement," I replied. He winced at that, but didn't argue. As we returned to the main reception area, he cleared his throat. "Rebecca, I owe you an apology. A real one, not a half-hearted attempt to get you back to save the company." I looked at him in surprise. This was unprecedented. My father rarely admitted mistakes. "I underestimated you," he continued. "For years, I saw your lack of degree as a limitation, not recognizing that your practical experience was worth more than any diploma. I was wrong." The simple admission, "I was wrong," was something I had never expected to hear from him. "Thank you for saying that," I replied. "I've been thinking about what you said at dinner," he went on, "about business being business. You were right, and in that spirit, I have a proposition for you." I raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." "I want to hire Phoenix Logistics as a consultant to help transition the remaining Martinez assets. The company can't be saved in its current form, we both know that, but with your expertise, we might be able to salvage something for the employees who stuck with us." It was a reasonable request, professional rather than personal, focused on the welfare of employees rather than family pride. "I'll have my team put together a proposal," I agreed. "Standard consulting rates, clear deliverables." He nodded, extending his hand formally. "Thank you." As we shook hands, I felt a subtle shift in our relationship. For the first time, he was treating me as a business equal, not a daughter who needed guidance. The moment was interrupted by Harold Thompson from North Star, who approached with a smile. "Rebecca Martinez, the woman of the hour. This is quite an impressive operation you've built." "Thank you, Harold. Have you met my father, James Martinez?" The two men shook hands, and Harold's eyes widened in recognition. "Martinez Logistics, correct? We were in acquisition talks last year." My father nodded uncomfortably. "Yes, though circumstances have changed significantly since then." Harold looked between us, clearly sensing the complicated dynamics. "Well, I should mention that North Star is still interested in expanding in this region. Perhaps we should set up a meeting to discuss potential synergies with Phoenix?" "I'd be happy to," I replied. "My assistant can coordinate schedules." After Harold moved on, my father gave me a sad smile. "The deal we pushed you out for. Now they're approaching you directly. Life has a sense of irony." "It's not about irony, Dad. It's about building something valuable through hard work and innovation." He nodded slowly. "I see that now." Later that evening, as the event wound down, Jen approached with a champagne toast. "To Phoenix Logistics and its visionary founder," she announced, raising her glass, "who proved that true leadership isn't about degrees or family names, but about vision, persistence, and integrity." As everyone cheered, I caught my father watching from near the exit. He raised his glass slightly in acknowledgement, then slipped out quietly. The following day, I met with my leadership team to discuss the Martinez Logistics consulting project. "Are you sure about this?" Jen asked. "After everything they did?" "I'm sure," I replied. "This isn't about helping my family. It's about securing transitional support for the employees who had nothing to do with my departure. Many of them worked alongside me for years. We developed a limited-scope consulting proposal, 3 months of operational guidance to help Martinez Logistics either restructure dramatically or wind down operations in an orderly fashion. The contract explicitly stated that I would not personally return to work at Martinez facilities. All consulting would be done by designated Phoenix team members under my remote direction. When I presented the proposal to my father, he accepted without negotiation. It was another sign of how far our relationship had evolved, from the father who always knew best to a business owner recognizing expertise. Over the next few weeks, our team worked to assess Martinez Logistics' remaining viable assets. The situation was worse than I'd expected. Client relationships had deteriorated beyond repair. Operational systems had been modified haphazardly by inexperienced managers trying to fill gaps they didn't understand. "It's unsalvageable as a going concern," I explained to my father during our weekly update call. "The best option is an orderly wind-down and asset sale." There was a long silence on the line. "I suspected as much," he finally said. "What about the employees?" "We've identified 8 key staff members that Phoenix could potentially hire. For the others, we can provide outplacement support and references." It wasn't the outcome anyone had hoped for, but it was the reality of the situation. Martinez Logistics, the company my grandfather had founded, that my father had grown, and that I had modernized, would cease to exist. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had been pushed out to facilitate a sale that never happened. Now I was being brought back in to oversee the company's end. But as I walked through Phoenix's bustling warehouse later that day, watching our team efficiently process shipments for our growing client base, I felt no regret. only pride in what I had built from nothing but my own expertise and determination. Sometimes endings are necessary for new beginnings to flourish. Has life ever given you the chance to prove your worth to someone who doubted you? How did it feel? Let me know in the comments. The final offer. 3 months after the Phoenix Logistics open house, the consulting contract with Martinez was coming to an end. The wind down was proceeding as planned, with assets being sold, clients transitioned to other providers, and employees either placed at Phoenix or assisted with finding new positions. Throughout the process, I had maintained professional distance, letting my team handle most of the direct interactions. But as the final phase approached, my father requested a personal meeting. "Just you and me," he said over the phone. "No lawyers, no advisors." We met at a quiet restaurant halfway between our offices. My father looked better than he had at the open house, less defeated, more resolute. He had accepted the inevitable end of Martinez Logistics and seemed focused on moving forward. After ordering, he got straight to the point. "I have a proposition for you. One last attempt to preserve something of the Martinez legacy." I sighed. "Dad, we've been through this. Martinez Logistics can't be saved in its current form." "I know that," he said, surprising me. "I'm not talking about the company. I'm talking about the name, the reputation, the history." He slid a folder across the table. Inside was a proposal for a new corporate foundation, the Martinez Family Foundation for Educational Innovation. "Your mother and I are selling our house and liquidating our retirement investments. Combined with the remaining assets from Martinez Logistics, we'll have approximately $1.2 million. We want to establish a foundation that provides scholarships and grants to promising entrepreneurs who don't have formal degrees." I stared at him, speechless. "The irony of our situation isn't lost on me," he continued. "We valued degrees over practical experience, and it cost us our company. Now we want to help others avoid that same narrow thinking." It was a stunning reversal from the father who had always emphasized formal education above all else. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked carefully. "Because we want you to be the foundation's chairperson, to shape its mission and vision." I leaned back, studying him. "And what about Alex and Sophia? How do they feel about this?" "They've agreed to serve on the board in advisory capacities only. They recognize that you should lead this effort." The proposal was unexpected, and I had to admit, appealing. A way to transform the family legacy from one of traditional business success to something more meaningful, supporting unconventional paths to achievement. "I'll need time to think about it," I said. "This would be a significant commitment alongside running Phoenix." My father nodded. "Of course. Take all the time you need." As we finished our meal, he shared stories about my grandfather that I'd never heard before. How he'd started Martinez Logistics with a single truck and no business training, learning through trial and error. How he'd been dismissed by larger companies until he proved himself through reliability and innovation. "You remind me of him," my father said quietly. He never let obstacles stop him either. It was perhaps the most meaningful compliment he had ever given me. Back at Phoenix, I discussed the foundation proposal with Marcus, who had become both a business partner and a trusted advisor. "It's an interesting opportunity," he said. "A way to close the Martinez chapter on your terms while creating something positive." "But is it what I want?" I wondered aloud. "Or is it another attempt to pull me back into family obligations?" Marcus considered this. "The question is, does the foundation's mission align with your values? If yes, then it might be worth exploring, on your terms with clear boundaries." That evening, I called my mother to discuss the foundation idea further. She explained that it had actually been her concept initially. "After seeing what you built with Phoenix, I realized how wrong we'd been to dismiss practical experience," she said. "This foundation is our way of making amends, not just to you, but to others who might face similar prejudice." The sincerity in her voice was unmistakable. This wasn't a manipulation tactic. It was a genuine attempt to create something meaningful from their mistakes. Over the next week, I drafted a counter-proposal for the foundation. If I was going to be involved, I wanted to ensure the mission truly reflected the lessons learned. I presented my vision to my parents over dinner at my condo, the first time they had visited my new home. "The foundation should focus on 3 areas," I explained, showing them my presentation. "First, scholarships for entrepreneurs without traditional education who demonstrate practical innovation. Second, mentorship programs connecting experienced business leaders with promising self-taught talent. And third, research initiatives challenging conventional thinking about credentials versus competence." My parents exchanged glances. "It's more ambitious than what we envisioned," my father admitted. "But better," my mother added. "Much better." They accepted my proposal without modification, including my stipulation that the foundation would operate independently from any family influence beyond the initial board structure. As for Alex and Sophia, their reactions to the foundation plan were mixed. Alex saw it primarily as a way to salvage something from the Martinez name. Sophia, more reflectively, viewed it as an opportunity to correct the family's misguided values. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," she told me during a rare one-on-one lunch, "about how we were raised to believe degrees equaled success. It took losing everything to see how wrong that was." Her humility was unexpected but welcome. While our sibling relationship would never return to what it was before, too much had happened. Perhaps something new and healthier could emerge from the ashes. By the time the Martinez logistics wind-down was complete, the foundation plans were well underway. We scheduled a small launch event, inviting key figures from the business community and education sector. The night before the launch, I stood on my condo balcony, reflecting on the journey of the past year. From being pushed out of my family's company to building Phoenix Logistics. From seeking validation to finding my own voice. From being underestimated to being recognized as a leader in my industry. The Martinez Family Foundation wouldn't erase the past, but it represented a path forward. A way to transform a painful experience into opportunity for others. My phone buzzed with a text from Jen. "Ready for tomorrow?" "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied. "Proud of you, boss," she texted back. "From operations manager to CEO to foundation chairperson in 1 year. Not bad for someone without a fancy degree." I smiled at her message, then looked out at the city lights below. Tomorrow would mark a new chapter. Not just for me, but for the Martinez name. And this time, the story would be written on my terms. Have you ever turned a painful experience into something positive? Share your story of transformation in the comments. The transformation. 1 year after being pushed out of my family's company, I stood at a podium in front of 200 guests, preparing to officially launch the Martinez Family Foundation for Educational Innovation. The audience included business leaders, educators, potential scholarship recipients, and, in the front row, my family. My parents sat together looking proud but subdued. Alex and Sophia flanked them, their expressions a mixture of respect and lingering discomfort. "Good evening," I began. "My name is Rebecca Martinez, and I'm the chairperson of the Martinez Family Foundation. I'm also the founder and CEO of Phoenix Logistics, a company I built from scratch after being told that my 15 years of practical experience was less valuable than a college degree I never completed." A murmur ran through the audience. I hadn't planned to be so direct, but something about the moment demanded honesty. This foundation was born from a painful truth my family had to learn, that real ability isn't measured by diplomas on a wall, but by results, innovation, and perseverance. We're here tonight to ensure others don't face the same barriers I did. I explained the foundation's three-pronged approach: scholarships, mentorships, and research challenging conventional thinking about credentials. As I spoke, I noticed several audience members nodding in recognition, people who had likely faced similar prejudice in their own careers. Our first initiative will provide full funding for 10 entrepreneurs without traditional degrees to develop their business concepts. Not loans, not partial grants, complete backing with no expectation of repayment beyond a commitment to mentor future recipients. The announcement generated enthusiastic applause. This aspect of the foundation had been my personal contribution, a way to give others the support I never received. After my speech, as guests mingled during the reception, Harold Thompson from North Star approached with a smile. "Remarkable transformation," he commented. "Both yours and your family's." "Thank you, Harold. North Star would be interested in contributing to the foundation," he added, "particularly the research initiative. We've found some of our best logistics innovators come from non-traditional backgrounds." It was a satisfying affirmation of everything I'd been saying for years. Throughout the evening, I was approached by numerous people sharing their own stories of being underestimated due to lack of formal credentials. Each conversation reinforced the importance of the foundation's mission. Near the end of the event, a young woman introduced herself as Maya, a self-taught software developer who had created a logistics tracking system but struggled to get companies to take her seriously. "Your story gives me hope," she said earnestly, "that maybe my work can stand on its own merit someday. Apply for our first round of grants," I encouraged her. "Your experience is exactly what we're looking to support." As the evening wound down, I found myself standing with my entire family for the first time since that tense dinner months ago. "You were magnificent," my mother said, squeezing my hand. "The foundation will make a real difference." My father nodded agreement. "You've turned our family's mistake into something meaningful." I couldn't be prouder. Coming from him, those words carried special weight. Alex cleared his throat. "I've been thinking about what you said in your speech, about practical experience versus degrees. It's taken me a long time to admit it, but you were always the most capable one among us, Sophia added softly, and the strongest. I would have crumbled if I'd been treated the way we treated you. Their acknowledgments weren't necessary for my happiness or success, but they provided a sense of closure I hadn't realized I still needed. We've all learned and grown this year, I said simply. Later that night, after everyone had left, I walked through the empty venue, reflecting on the journey that had brought me here, from the humiliation of being pushed out of Martinez Logistics to the triumph of building Phoenix. From seeking my family's approval to finding my own path. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Congratulations on a successful launch. Phoenix board meeting tomorrow at 10 to discuss the North Star partnership offer. I smiled, typing back, confirmed, bringing the proposal we discussed. Phoenix Logistics was thriving beyond my initial projections. We had expanded to 50 employees, secured regional contracts with major medical suppliers, and were now considering a strategic partnership with North Star that would accelerate our growth without sacrificing independence. The partnership would provide Phoenix with access to North Star's nationwide distribution network, while North Star would benefit from our specialized expertise in temperature-controlled pharmaceutical logistics. A win-win arrangement that preserved my company's autonomy while creating new growth opportunities. Our rapid growth wasn't just luck or timing, it was the result of spotting untapped market niches, leveraging deep industry relationships, and implementing innovative systems that larger, more bureaucratic companies couldn't match. We had also benefited from the industry connections Marcus brought to the table, and from my years of relationship building with clients and suppliers, all accomplished in just 1 year, without the degree my family had once deemed essential. The following morning, I arrived early at Phoenix headquarters. Walking through the operations floor, I greeted employees by name, stopping to answer questions and offer guidance. This hands-on approach, something I'd learned during my 15 years at Martinez, had become a cornerstone of Phoenix's culture. In my office, I found a small package on my desk. Inside was a framed photo of my grandfather standing beside his first delivery truck, along with a note from my father. He would have been as proud of you as I am. You embody his spirit more than any of us. The gesture brought unexpected tears to my eyes. My grandfather had built his business without formal education, relying on grit and practical intelligence, qualities I had inherited, but that had been undervalued in our family's pursuit of academic credentials. The board meeting went smoothly, with unanimous approval for moving forward with the North Star partnership discussions. As CEO, I had assembled a leadership team that complemented my practical experience with specialized expertise, creating a balance of knowledge rather than prioritizing one type over another. After the meeting, Jen stopped by my office. Hard to believe it's been a year since you left Martinez, she remarked. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is getting pushed out of where you don't belong. I never thought of it that way, I admitted. But you're right. I needed to leave to discover what I could really build. That evening, I attended my first night class at the local university, not to complete my long-abandoned business degree, but to study logistics innovation as part of a specialized certificate program. Not because I needed the credential, but because I valued the knowledge. On my way home, I drove past the building that had once housed Martinez Logistics. The sign had been removed, the windows dark. The company that had defined my life for 15 years was gone. But Phoenix Logistics stood strong. The Martinez Foundation was launched, and I had transformed from someone seeking validation to someone offering opportunity to others like me. The journey had come full circle. I parked in front of my condo and checked my phone before heading inside. There was an email from Maya, the young developer I'd met at the foundation launch. She had already submitted her application for the grant program, attaching a demo of her logistics software. Your story inspired me to stop doubting myself, she wrote. Whether I receive the grant or not, thank you for showing me that our paths don't have to be traditional to be valuable. I smiled, typing a quick response encouraging her to continue developing her system. Perhaps she would become Phoenix's next innovative partner, or a competitor. Either way, her talent deserved recognition. As I entered my condo, I caught a glimpse of myself in the hallway mirror. The woman looking back at me was confident, successful, accomplished, everything I had always been, but hadn't been allowed to see. No degree on my wall, no family name on my company, just the results of my own vision, determination, and hard work. That was always enough. I just needed to be pushed out to realize it. If this story resonated with you, make sure to like and subscribe for more content about finding your own path to success. Remember, sometimes being underestimated is your greatest advantage. It gives you the freedom to prove everyone wrong.